beta-glucans, what's really nice about them is they tend not to, because the longer chains are not as easily digested, they don't really release a lot of glucose upon transitioning through the digestive tract. So feeding, including incorporating the beta-glucans in dog food, it actually helps with lowering the glycemic index, so there's not like a spike after consuming the food.
Well, welcome to the Pet Food Science Podcast. I have the privilege, and I'm pretty pleased to be talking with Dr. Wang today. We're going to talk about beta-glucans and the value that they might impart into pet nutrition. It's pretty exciting. This whole area of carbohydrate nutrition has been a fascinating area of growth during my time as a nutritionist, and we're going to dive deeply into this part now. So, Dr. Wang, welcome, and Pet Food Science Podcast, here we are. I hope you will tell us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in this subject.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Jewel. I'm an independent consultant with Allura. I really came into this role by supporting different companies in advancing fields of food science and biosciences, life sciences. So I have a deep passion in developing novel pet food products and ingredients that are healthy, nutritious, and sustainable. And I've previously worked with companies of all scales, from the largest scales of manufacturing with the highest throughput of production to smaller scales, working with co-manufacturers for startup companies. And I have supported numerous launch of different cat and dog dry food products. And the latest creation I've worked on involved creating a 100% plant-based, yeast-based dog food. So I have lots of interest in using functional ingredients, in using cutting-edge ingredients to really help to advance the field of animal nutrition, and also helping with launching innovative products for our industry. And so in terms of my background, I have previously received a Bachelor of Science in Cell Molecular Biology from the University of Toronto, and also a doctoral degree in Food Science and Technology from the University of Alberta. And after graduation, completing my studies in the sciences, I have actually received an MBA in Entrepreneurship and Innovation from the University of Alberta as well. So I have a mix of skill sets in the sciences as well as in business, which makes it perfect for working with companies interested in launching new products and commercializing ideas into innovative products.
Okay.
So I'm currently working as an independent consultant for Allura, and we are launching new novel pet food ingredients. And one of the ingredients I would love to discuss further about, and we will mention in our podcast, is the Altea reishi, which is a biofermented reishi mushroom, the Ganoderma lucidum, the functional mushroom, which has a lot of benefits already shown in human studies. And I just can't wait to tell you more about the benefits that are available specifically for dogs as well.
At Allura Pets, our commitment to biotechnological innovations empowers you to craft superior products that redefine pet wellness standards. Whether enhancing nutrient bioavailability, promoting gut health, or boosting immunity, our science-backed solutions give your formulations a competitive edge in the pet market. Trust Allura Pets to deliver scientifically proven ingredients that elevate your portfolio to new heights. Visit us at www.allura.bio/pets to learn more.
Do you want to talk first about the beta-glucans, or do you want to cover some of the other things and get to those beta-glucans later?
I would love to talk more about the beta-glucans. And just to offer some higher level background, polysaccharides are basically long chain sugar molecules, which the beta-glucans are part of. And these are essential molecules for giving structure to biological organisms.
Well, plants, for plants.
Actually, they're found in mammalian cells, in plant cells, in fungi, in bacteria, in algae. So,
Mammals aren't real good at making beta-glucans.
right, but small quantity. It's actually part of the extracellular matrix, and then for the fungi, it's part of the cell wall. It's actually also part of the internal. It can be secreted as well as a part of the internal cell environment as well. It's highly functional as structural components for the plants, for the algae, for the bacteria, and for the fungi. And then actually, you're right. For mammalian cells, they are not. For example, for fungi, it can occur at dry weight of 45%, and when it's biofermented, it can be 60% of the dry weight. So huge component of it. For mammalian cells, it's in small quantities. Maybe only immunological ways of measuring are able to pick them out, and because some of them are attached to proteins, there are proteoglycans, and they are on the cell surface for cell signaling. So yes, absolutely right. The major components of them are more in plants, in algae, in fungi, and then also for bacteria, it's very helpful for their cell wall, and as well as they can excrete some of these polysaccharides out, and those are known as the exopolysaccharides, which I actually have done extensive research with in my doctoral studies.
And these mushrooms are part of the sort of structure that holds the mushroom together, the beta-glucan.
Yes.
So beta is the type of linkage. What type of sugars are in a beta-glucan?
So polysaccharides have different monomers of sugar molecules, and they can be the same homopolysaccharides, which means they're the same base units of everything,
right?
Or they can be heteropolysaccharides, a mix of different things. So to narrow things down a little more, glucans are actually just made out of the glucose molecules. And what's interesting about glucose molecules is that they do have the alpha anomer and the beta anomer. So the way the first carbon has the chemical groups, the hydroxy group and the carbon, they can flip. And because of that, they have the beta glucan chain and the alpha glucan chains.
Use cellulose as a comparative maybe for us, so we understand how cellulose is made from glucose versus the glucans, the beta-glucan.
Yeah. So cellulose, I believe, would be part of the beta-glucans with a specific linkage. And then for glycogen, for starch, that will be the alpha structure.
But cellulose and beta-glucans are different compounds.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the different linkage in the cellulose.
Is it like 1,4 versus 1,6? Is that? I'm trying to remember this.
Exactly. So I believe from my background in biochemistry back then, I think it was 1,6.
Thank you.
Polymer of one beta 1,4 linkage. I apologize. And then the amylopectin, which is starch, is the alpha 1,6 with it has the side branch of alpha 1,6, and then mostly the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds.
Because my understanding is the beta-glucans are a lot more fermentable than cellulose. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Is it more soluble? Is that one of the reasons, or how does it become that more fermentable?
It is more fermentable by compared to cellulose, but then in the body, it's still it can survive the entire transit through the gut. So it's not as fermentable as shorter chains of sugars.
Like, for example, sometimes I have fed some of those short chain oligosaccharides with beta glucans to get that fast and slow fermentability included.
Yes. So you can adjust the fermentability by adjusting the concentration of the beta glucans, and also you could select different beta glucans with different branching structure and different chain length for that as well. The longer chain length tends to be less digestible.
Interesting. Now, we had talked a little bit just earlier about the difference. Say, I have never fed the beta glucan we're talking about today, but I have run experiments that had significant benefit for some pets with the oat beta glucan. And I wonder if you could just talk about how that oat beta glucan is similar and also how it's different than this mushroom beta glucan.
Yeah, so with cereal beta glucan, in terms of its structure, they tend to be the linear beta 1,3, beta 1,4 linkage. And actually, just to go back on the linkage, so if you imagine a glucose molecules with 6 carbons, the 1,4, 1,6 is really where the bond is connecting in the molecule. So from the first carbon, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, the 1,4 will connect with the fourth carbon, whereas 1,3 is connecting with the third carbon. So going back to the cereal beta glucans, they tend to be very linear. They're linear beta 1,3, beta 1,4 glucans, and then the mushroom glucans, they vary. They tend to be shorter beta 1,6. So the main chain is beta 1,3 glucans, and then they have the shorter branched 1,6 glucans. And then for yeast, it's longer branched 1,6, but the main chain is beta 1,4. And actually, I just want to mention that for the reishi mushroom, for Ganoderma lucidum, it depends on where it's isolated. So the beta glucans can actually be isolated from the fruiting body, from the mycelium, from the spore, and also when you do biofermentation, it can be extracted from the fermentation liquid of the whole within the biofermentation process. So what's interesting is that the ones that are extracted from the fruiting body, they tend to have a backbone of 1,3 glucan, which tends to be linear, and then they have the 1,6 glucan as the branch. And then for the spores, there's more variation in the main chain. There's 1,3 linkages and 1,4 linkages plus the 1,6 branches. So there's nuance in the structure.
Does that make it different than like what you might get from yeast in the beta glucans that come from yeast?
Yes, absolutely. So then yeast beta glucans, they have very flat beta 1,3 glucan structure, just like the fungal glucans, and then also like the cereal glucans, but then they have very long branched 1,6 glucans. So it's a different. Each one has a very different structure. And then just to add on a little bit more background, the bacterial is more linear 1,3 glucans.
Interesting.
And the algal, I believe, is also algal is also more linear and branched, and it's 1,3 glucans, just like the bacteria. And which, it's kind of interesting in terms of where they are on the evolutionary tree. And there might be a side research branch to look into the evolution of these molecules too.
Yeah, you could look at the phylogenetics to kind of say, okay, how did that branch? It'd be interesting.
Yes, how it's conserved, how it evolved. Yeah.
Tell us about how that might influence the interaction with the individual eating it. In our case, mostly we're thinking dogs and cats. This is pet food science. It's not that different, I assume, than what happens with humans. At least on the dog side, a lot of interaction there seems quite similar. But So how does that, how does that matter to the pet?
Basically, with the beta-glucans, what's really nice about them is they tend not to, because the longer chains are not as easily digested, they don't really release a lot of glucose upon transitioning through the digestive tract. So feeding, including incorporating the beta-glucans in dog food, it actually helps with lowering the glycemic index, so there's not like a spike after consuming the food, the glucose spike after consuming the food.
Yeah.
And it's actually really helping with obesity, because right now there's actually a trend where dogs tend to not exercise very much, and the diet is high in fat.
Not only be dogs.
Right. Actually, that correlates to the lifestyles humans have as well. We tend to sit on the couch watching TV, and it's perfectly fine to do so with our dogs, and it's fun to do that. But as a result, us and them were less active. Some are outdoors, but in general, in the city, when people are working, they tend to just want to come back home and sit on the couch with their dog. So lots of there's actually an obesity trend in dogs over time.
Sure.
And there are definitely diets specifically designed to lower the caloric intake, to minimize the spike in glucose after intake, to help with that. So having a compound that kind of takes up the volume.
Shifts that carbohydrate utilization to the lower gut. I think that's great.
Exactly, shifting it to the lower gut, and then allowing acting as fiber and also acting as prebiotic fiber, which stimulates the good bacteria in the gut. It's highly beneficial for dogs to have diets that have more incorporation of beta glucans in their diet. And right now they're more prevalent with the beta glucans coming from yeast and algae sources, and working with Alora on the Altea reishi ingredient from the reishi mushroom, that will help to add additional functional benefits to the diet beyond just lowering glucose, beyond just stimulating potentially the healthy bacteria in the gut. But with reishi compounds, it can help with anti-inflammation, anti-cholesterol, tumor even. And also, in addition, it has the extra benefit of immunomodulation. And the study that teams of researchers at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign campus, and in collaboration with research teams at Alora, one of their recent studies is showing that just by offering the powder form of reishi mushroom powder extracted from biofermentation, that is able to immunomodulate the overall. It can stimulate macrophages, it can stimulate lymphocytes, it can have a very strong immunomodulation effect, which can be very beneficial for dogs.
That's interesting. I had a question, and this is just there's been so much press recently about the GLP-1 like compounds that help moderate obesity, and they were originally discovered, of course, when we were feeding large amounts of fermentable fiber to rodents.
Yes.
Has anyone ever looked at GLP-1 and the reishi mushroom or the beta-glucans?
That for dogs, I don't think that has been done yet, but I do want to highlight the murine model, which is the effect of lowering cholesterol in mouse. There's actually a really, really interesting study that talks about it. And it's really, really fascinating, because basically what they found is that beta-glucan was able to really help with what they did was they looked at both the immunomodulation effects of the beta-glucan in terms of cell gene expression, and then they also looked at the effects in histology. And they were able to find out that the beta-glucan was able to support lowering cholesterol and also helping with anti-inflammatory responses in conjunction with anti-tumor effects. So it's very strong research evidence of supporting that, when fed with a diet that's pro-inflammatory, that is high in cholesterol, by feeding beta-glucan in the diet, the research team was able to find that the beta-glucans was able to counteract the pro-inflammatory response as a result. So
Very, very positive.
yes, very, very positive, and I just can't wait for more studies like this to be able to transfer over to looking at dogs more specifically.
In that study, do you remember what they were using as a source of beta-glucan?
It was actually directly from the reishi mushroom. It's the Ganoderma lucidum beta 1316 glucan that they were able to use as an immunomodulator to counteract the inflammation for that was induced by a high cholesterol diet. And actually, the authors is it's Wu et al. 2016, and just I love how clear it's scientifically showing the effects of regulating inflammatory response, and also seeing it in terms of the immunoglobulin A and immunoglobulin G expression, as well as the histopathology evaluation. So you could see it in the slice of the tissue, that even when a high cholesterol diet was fed to the mice, adding the beta 1316 glucan to that diet, the specific 1316 glucan isolated from reishi mushroom, when that is added to the diet, they were able to see a reduction in the inflammatory response, both in terms of gene expression and his histopathology evaluation. So.
I sort of assumed the histo was done on the gut. Was the gene expression and the immunoglobulin measurements also gut measurements, or were they whole, like circulating or?
Yeah, I believe they did. They looked at the gut tight junctions, like how tight the cells were. They found out that by introducing the reishi mushroom to the diet, they were able to maintain a healthier appearance in the gut lining. And then the immunoglobulin expression, it's probably in the extracellular environment, like because it's secreted in the blood. So that is from blood collection. And then the histology is able to see the morphology of the gut lining of the cells. Yeah.
Well, that tight connection so that we don't have gut leakage
Yeah.
seems to be really a critical part of controlling immune system and that sort of one way that the gut really influences the whole body. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
What other ways do you think? Is it through I guess I'm actually anticipating a discussion I'd like to have. I wonder how much of the interaction with the gut and the host is through the postbiotics, the things that come out of the microbes as they metabolize these beta glucans.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating question. I think right now the studies for the polysaccharides, when they get broken down enzymatically, they become smaller pieces of glucan, smaller saccharides, and then they can have so they can stimulate the growth of gut bacteria, which can be very beneficial.
In pets, that the saccharolytic, that these kind of carbohydrate metabolisms that the beta-glucans sort of promote, seems, yeah, you want both, but it seems to be generally a more beneficial than the proteolytic, which tends up to that metabolism can produce things like the indoxyl sulfate and pretty much known toxins that the body then has to get rid of.
Yes.
So pulling that towards the saccharolytic seems like a really good benefit.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that's actually another benefit for feeding a more omnivorous diet to the dogs, because, you know, as dogs evolved with humans, they are able to have more gene expression in expressing,
The carbohydrate metabolism.
yeah, carbohydrate metabolism, enzyme that can digest starch.
Yep.
So unlike wolves, which are more carnivorous, the dogs can actually eat a more starch-based diet. And by introducing the beta glucans, can not only help with, minimizing the effects of sugar on body in terms of potentially translating into obesity over time, but with immunomodulation and having the prebiotic effect of stimulating good bacteria in the gut, then it's the added benefit of lowering caloric intake plus the immunomodulation effect of enhancing the immune system to keep the dogs healthy and also keep the gut lining healthy, plus stimulating the good bacteria, which, like you said, can produce a lot of nice secondary metabolites and postbiotics that could recircle to enhance overall health as well. So lots of benefits.
Yeah, and it's not just recircling, right? I mean, we're talking about this. That's certainly a component and a significant one, but I'm always intrigued about what it's doing right there in the gut. So some of these postbiotics, like the short chain fatty acids, they never leave the gut, but they're really a benefit for those enterocytes.
And actually, there are studies specifically on using yeast beta glucan in dogs that actually really enhances the propionate producing families of bacteria, the propriol mono Daceae, that family of bacteria, plus the Prevotelaceae family, like those propionate producing bacteria can be enhanced through feeding beta glucan into the dog diet. And what's really interesting is that not only they stimulate the propionate producing bacteria and the entire group of them, those families, they also decrease what can potentially be opportunistic pathogens. They decrease the Fusobacteriaceae family and the Enterobacteriaceae family, which can actually be disease causing. So by just feeding the yeast beta glucans, there's actually a study specifically highlighting the benefit of enhancing the gastrointestinal tract health in dogs. And this is done by a group led by Abili, and it was a 2020 study actually.
Where were they based? I'm not familiar with that study.
They might be a European group, and it's from the Journal of Animal Science. Based on last names, it looks,
yeah, good journal.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And actually, they even have more specific dosage. So they measured at 0.5, 1, and 2, and concentrations of 0.5, 1, and 2 grams per day dry matter. It actually was able to increase the production of health-related acetate, propionate, and butyrate. So all those metabolites were able to be enhanced. And then plus they was able to decrease the populations of potentially opportunistic pathogens that potentially also coexist in the gut. Sure. And what's really nice about reishi is not only reishi has a large quantity of Beta-glucans, dry typical yeast cell wall, the dry matter of beta-glucans, it's about 45 to 55-ish. And that's similar with just the typical dried reishi mushroom, cultivated. But when we do biofermentation, that isolation can be enhanced to 70%. So it can be much more concentrated. Plus, in addition to beta-glucans, the reishi mushrooms also produce a little bit of alpha-glucans along the side. And those can also act as prebiotics and able to stimulate good bacteria in the gut as well.
Yeah.
And plus all the secondary metabolites of reishi mushrooms that have all the other functional benefits too.
I wanted to ask you, I had done a study sometime back where we had looked at apple pomace and beta-glucans and then
Beautiful.
CKD versus healthy. And we found the beta-glucans had a specific benefit. If I remember correctly, I think it was in the CKD cats. I just wonder, how do you think the disease might interact with the food ingredient that would impart a different response? Do you have any ideas on that? I'm just thinking aloud, but it's a fascinating area, right? Because we really want to try and optimize nutrition not only for the whole population, but for individuals within that population. And so this interaction, we're talking these broad benefits, but then the focus benefits. I wondered if you might think about them a little bit with me.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And actually, in the Eastern traditions, food is often looked at as medicine. And
Who said your food is your medicine? Wasn't that the Greek guy?
yes,
Your food is your medicine, is that?
yes, I think in the Greek culture and in the ancient times when our food is only natural sources coming from plant-based natural sources, and not just plant-based, but it's not processed, there are no food additives. And also when there was limited pharmaceutical
So you start looking for answers.
Drugs, medicines that's available. So those times you actually would select specific diets for targeting different diseases. And plus, reishi mushroom is known for enhancing liver health, kidney health. So it's very possible to actually create a diet that helps with those aspects too. And as well as very specific disease targeting for cats and dogs with cancer. And actually, because there's such pro-inflammatory ingredients being widely used across the industry that is so unhealthy, it did lead to the prevalence of cancer and tumors in our pets. And actually, some of the plant-based diets, that part of their marketing is clean protein, more healthy diet because it's plant-based. So it's being recognized in the industry as a need to provide clean food, to provide healthy food. But what I want to support Alora on is actually to provide food as medicine and actually able to target some of the diseases and work together with medicine to help, bring dogs back to health. At least prolonging their lives if they have some kind of long-term terminal illness like cancer and have tumors.
For more than 20 years, BioOrigin manufactures high-quality yeast-based ingredients through a sustainable biotechnological process, guaranteeing full traceability from the crop to the bowl. Through specialization in the fermentation process, BioOrigin brings the right solution for specific nutritional, palatability, and health appeals, such as gut health, immune system, skin health, weight control, and more. BioOrigin's products are natural origin, non-GMO, and certified sustainable by Bonsucro. BioOrigin is your partner for high-quality, yeast-based ingredients to add value to pet foods worldwide. Learn more at bioorigin.net.
It is right. You want to aid in the management of these diseases, and perhaps we wait for other things for a cure. But it is interesting how we tend to maybe we've neglected too much the interaction of food and health. We know it, but and I guess I would, it's a whole different conversation. I would remind us that really foods provide nutrients and these specific benefits, and we're talking about a particular nutrient, if you will, in this beta-glucan that's provided by this specific ingredient. It provides a lot of different things, but the ingredient is a source of these compounds that have the benefit, and that's it's foundational, because then if someone says, well, I want to be all grass-fed beef for my dog, it's like, well, that it's
Right.
providing nutrients, and you have to think, if a beta glucan is a benefit, then perhaps that is just not going to be there in your grass-fed beef diet. Not that that's a bad ingredient, but it doesn't contain the wealth of the nutrients that would be really valuable. So that's my perspective of nutrition, which comes through, obviously.
And actually, I would love to add, like, there's lots of benefits around anti-cancer, anti-tumor that's worth highlighting as well. One of them is the antioxidant effect
Yeah.
of reishi mushroom compounds, and also specifically for beta glucans as well. They can actually stimulate the enzymes that can sweep up the anti the oxidation compounds. So
Something like like, oh, I don't know,
super mutase oxidate, I think it's
superoxide dismutase, right? The SOD, superoxide dismutase.
dismutase, yes, superoxide dismutase. Thank you. We're both trying to get to that enzyme, and also it enhances apoptosis, so it regulates cell proliferation, the cell cycle, enhances cell death when the cell is no longer functioning optimally, especially when it's mutated into tumor cells, into cancer cells. Also, cell motility and invasion, slowing down that process of macrophage entering to respond to it's the inflammatory pathway where it attracts the immune cells to attack
Mhm.
the pathogens. And also in the inflammatory response, they actually end up destroying some of the healthy tissues as well, and that also creates leakage in between cells and looser attachment of the cells, and kind of, yeah, just able to potentially cause ulcers and lesions. So by slowing down that inflammatory response, cells and tissues can stay healthier over time too.
Isn't that it's such a balance, isn't it? Because we do want to control that inflammatory response. I often think of it as just, the fire in the fireplace. If it stays there, it's beautiful. If it gets uncontrolled, it's terrible. And
Yeah.
and so that regulatory component, which you're describing, is so beneficial, not only to pets, but to us as well.
Yeah, it's such a fine balance, and you do want that response to be there to act on the pathogens to take out, for example, cancer cells. But then prolonged inflammation can lead to autoimmune diseases, and then also just overall um, inflammatory
Yeah,
response
lack
in
of
the
health.
in the
Yeah.
yeah, it affects health overall. So it could cause lethargy and all sorts of physical ailments that is observable and visible.
It's time for our famous three. As the world is looking for healthier, more natural, and sustainable solutions, InnovaFeed's Helucia protein and oil for pets offers a path to a brighter future for pet food. Helucia represents the convergence of the natural upcycling power of Hermetia illucens larvae with InnovaFeed's cutting-edge production technology to produce the highest quality ingredients for pet nutrition with the lowest environmental footprint. Helucia protein and oil for pets has been meticulously developed, tested, and validated to deliver outstanding digestibility and palatability in both dry and wet pet food formulation, while environmental impacts have been validated through a published life cycle assessment. Learn more at innovafeed.com/Helucia.
Let me give you a chance to kind of summarize. So you're saying we're talking specifically, we have the mushroom, this particular special mushroom, and then we sort of did the deep dive into beta-glucans and said, okay, it's not like these other kinds of somewhat similar. I mean, same classification, but still got its own unique characteristics. What if you just might give us just a quick summary of your view of the mode of action and the ultimate benefits of beta-glucan that you're describing?
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, we're talking about the beta-glucans, especially the ones that are extracted from the reishi mushroom through biofermentation, which concentrates them a lot more than compared to when they're naturally occurring in the mushrooms, in algae, in yeast. And also the overarching benefit of using reishi versus all the other kinds is the fact that reishi mushroom itself has so many other secondary metabolites that can offer additional benefits. Things like ganoderic acid, terpenoids, all of those can, in conjunction, work with the beta glucans to help. And then the beta glucans themselves, not only they can enhance they have immunomodulatory effects, really enhance the innate immune system in fighting off diseases, in staying active, in clearing away bad cells, tumor cells, cancer cells, actually also fighting off viruses. It just has this overarching immunomodulatory effect that benefits health. And then it also has the effect of being a prebiotics, which stimulate the good bacteria in the gut. From related studies in yeast, it's been found to really help with enhancing the metabolites, secondary metabolites like the acetate, the propionate, really
Butyrate.
showing that butyrate, that really showing the beautiful effects on gut health and decreasing potential opportunistic pathogens in the gut as well. So yeah, the big ones are antioxidation, anti-inflammatory response, immunomodulation, enhancing the ability for the immune system to fight off disease, to fight off bad cells, anti-cancer, anti-tumor, and then also, inflammation from diets, specifically high in cholesterol or challenging diets that are pro-inflammatory, beta-glucans can help as well. So very, very powerful way of really bringing the aspect of functionality of ingredients and using them as medicine, potentially actually tailoring different diets for specific ailments related to liver, related to kidneys, related to gut health issues, and also obesity and cancer and tumor as well. So just wide application of this. And actually, I didn't get to talk about the benefit of adding this ingredient in production, in processing, because beta glucans is able to create gel. So they are binding agents. They can create gel. It's very versatile to be used for dry food, for treats, for broth, for also the gravy. So lots of different formats for dry food, for wet food, maybe to create plant-based chunks of meat that can be used, plus the functionality in terms of processing and in terms of bioactivities in and pharmacological activities in dogs and cats, perhaps. With more studies, I would think cats will benefit from that too. So very, very powerful compound. And I'm super excited to work with Alora and really bring the Altea reishi to allow it to be more prevalent in different pet food products, in treats, in supplements, and eventually also in dry dog food, in different formats of dog food, wet, all of it.
Yeah.
And with this, it opens up so many avenues of future research too. We could look at the chemical structures of specific compounds a little more and see their specific effects in the body. We can also look at things like proteoglycans when the sugar polymers connect with protein. Although some studies are saying the active functional compound part is the sugar part rather than the protein
Right.
part, but we
Right.
could still look at how do we incorporate other related molecules and potentially beneficial functional agents into formulating our food as well. So lots of product development areas that can have research avenues to further explore these studies. And then definitely with every single effect it has, antioxidation, immunomodulatory, anti-cancer, anti-tumor, one of those areas can have more elucidation of processes of cell signaling. So it's literally unlimited ways we could explore the functionalities of these molecules more. And in dogs, in cats, all of the good research that has yet to be done. So
No, that's great. A lot of learning to happen, a lot of order to be created from the randomness we sort of observe. So that's always fun for research scientists. Wonder if we could shift gears in just a few minutes we have left. Just I like to talk to people kind of about what they see in the workplace and your perspective of what does it really what if you're building a team or if you want to be in a team, what do you look for in that individual to say, yes, this would be someone I would like to work for, would want to be on my team? What would you put in for their characteristics?
yes, absolutely. I do feel when you have an enthusiastic, curious, go-getter type of people, it's welcomed in all organizations, because with that inner drive, with that intrinsic drive we have to just explore, to try out different things, not be so concerned if things don't work. It's like, oh, if this doesn't work, what other ways can we bring to the table? What other ways haven't we explored? Let's try those. That tend to be really helpful for solving any issues across the organization, any issues in the R&D realm. So if this compound is not gelling well, what can we do to modify it, to change it, to make it work better in different settings and conditions?
Oh, thank you. That's very, very insightful. Well, I've sure enjoyed talking to you today, Dr. Wang. Done the deep dive into beta-glucans and in general these molecules that come in with this ingredient that you're talking about. I think there's a lot there for us, and you said a lot more to be learned. So thank you,
Yes.
and I'll look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jewel. I look forward to talk to you again as well. And from our discussion, it looks like we have many, many more episodes. So I would love to, cover in more depth each of the areas we've mentioned,
Yeah.
and also highlighting the different compounds Ganoderma lucidum, the reishi mushroom, can bring to the table. Just that probably requires hundreds of episodes and many, many more future discussions. So really looking forward to reconnecting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It'll be fun. We'll plan on it.
Sounds good.